Hi guys, and welcome to the Sunday morning Josh's Vlog Tribe video. Once again, I hope you've all had a really good week. And yeah, we'll just crack straight on with today's video. Many of my videos that I've done recently have been about how God sticks with us during the lowest of times, and how we need to draw closer to God when things don't seem to be going as well as usual, or when we have thoughts that are quite negative, or any time in our lives where we're feeling particularly low. But I know for some of us, that is actually kind of the easiest time to connect with God. That when we're feeling the lowest, that naturally draws us closer to God because we realise how much we need God. It's easier sometimes, and for some of us, to see what God is doing for us when we're at our lowest. When we've all exhausted all our own ways of doing things, it's at that point that we realise how much we need God. And then on the opposite side of that, it's really easy to praise God and have a really good faith when amazing things are happening, and we're doing amazing things. So for example, when you've got all the subjects you want in school, or you've passed your driving test, or you've got into your first choice uni, it's really easy to praise God in those moments. But today I want to talk about the kind of the middle ground between those two. The mundane, the kind of everyday stuff that happens. Potentially boring, but not always boring. Sometimes just a bit ignorable. Because these are the moments where it's so easy to lose sight of the things that God has done for us and is doing for us now. Now, I'm going to use another football analogy because, you know, I love football. But this one applies to any kind of sport, or anything in the media, most situations really, where people are sort of trying to be good in the role they're in. So in football, it's very easy to praise someone who is doing over and above what you expect them to do. When they're going out and they're scoring outrageous goals and they're making massive tackles, and doing better than you expected them to, it's so easy to praise them and talk about them. And then on the flip side of that, when someone isn't doing as well as you'd expect them to, it's very easy to talk about them as well. Identify where things are wrong, where things can improve, and it's them that usually the manager will come alongside to try and improve. But there's often players in the middle of these two who get forgotten slightly, who are doing everything well, nothing's going wrong, but there's nothing spectacular either. Everything is just sort of going as it should. They do everything they do well. And what happens is these people tend to get forgotten, and you only notice it when potentially they get injured, or can't play for some reason, and then at that point you notice them when they're missing. And I think for us as Christians, it's so easy to put our faith to the side when things are a little bit mundane, when there's nothing particularly good and special happening, but when there's also nothing particularly bad happening, when life is just plodding along. So maybe it's 6 months after you've passed your driving test and you're kind of just getting into the routine of it. You're fully established in the subjects you chose, so you're just sort of getting along with it. You're now 6 months into your new job, or whatever it is. Things can become a bit mundane. Nothing's gone particularly wrong. Nothing is going amazingly well. And these are the moments where sometimes we can forget what God has done for us and what God is doing for us as well. It's important as Christians that we don't forget those moments, those things that God has done for us and the things that God is doing for us within these moments of mundanity. I don't know if that's a word or not. But those moments where we're just sort of plodding along. It's so easy. We have to remember the things that God has done for us. Now, I don't know if you remember, a few months ago, one of the first videos I did, I suggested doing a little activity, which I'm going to kind of re-suggest you do again now. And that's having a little jar somewhere in your house that every time something really good happens, or even something really bad happens, or something where you are sure that God has had an impact. So whether that was you were feeling really low and you really felt God's presence, or something amazing happened and you were so thankful for that thing to happen, write it on a bit of paper and put it in this jar. And then if you ever catch yourself in a part in your life where it is a little bit mundane and you seem to have just relaxed slightly, not that you've lost your faith at all, but you just you've lost that rhythm because you're quite happy with life as it's going. When you find yourself in that moment, open this jar and start to look at all the things God has done for you previously, and try and draw yourself close to him again, because it's in those moments we need to still be pressing into him and pushing and drawing ourselves closer to him, so that we don't lose that element of relationship with him and then put ourselves in a position of vulnerability when it comes to something happening again in the future. So that's my encouragement to you guys today. I would really encourage you, even if it's not a jar, just find something, but document those things that God is doing, and try and think back to all the things God has done previously in your lives, and write it down and go back to them when you're in those moments, either where you're struggling or it's just a bit mundane and life is just plodding along.